Hello, everyone. Welcome. I see lots of people filtering in. We're going to get started in just a moment. But while we're waiting for everybody to come in, if you just want to put maybe the name of your organization in the chat, we would love to kind of see where everybody's coming from today. The Leftovers Foundation, welcome, Jocelyn. Violet Seas, hi Susan, A Greener Future, Central Okanagan Food Bank, amazing. The Pug Rescue, welcome everybody. We're so excited to see so many of our amazing clients on the call today. So we're gonna get into it. So hello everyone again and welcome. I hope you're all excited to learn a little bit more about Keela Automation and how it can enhance your experience with Keela. Before we get started, I just want to start today by acknowledging that Keela's head office is located in Vancouver, which is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, and give thanks for their generosity and hospitality on these lands and waters. My name is Meredith. I am the head of marketing here at Keela. I'm also joined by a few of my lovely colleagues. Of course, Amanda is here, that I know you're all excited to hear from her. We also have Stephanie and Stefania on the call who are going to be supporting you in the chat. So feel free to say hello to them, submit any questions that you have in the chat or the Q&A box, and we will try to get to as many of them as possible at the end. So just as a reminder today, by attending, you have already taken an amazing first step because you are all eligible to receive 15% off of your automation upgrade, as well as 2 complimentary professional services sessions so that you can hit the ground running with Keela Automation should you decide to move forward. So well done. We're all really excited to see you. And I am now going to pass it over to Amanda. So as you know, Amanda is our customer support specialist at Keela. So she talks to many of you, as well as lots of other nonprofits every day to support you on your fundraising journey. So Amanda, take it away.
Thanks, Meredith. Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda. I'm on the customer support team. I know a lot of you already. We've chatted face-to-face or at least through an email once in a while, so I'm happy to see all of you here. I'm so excited to show you the automation tool. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to be walking you through the amazing capabilities of our automation tool. So as the end of year approaches, it's that time of year. I'm sure we're all aware of how important it is to stay on top of your communications with your donors, whether they have been with you for a long time, haven't engaged with you in a while, or maybe they're your top donors. This is the time of year that we're going to reach out, let them know the impact that they've had by donating to your organization, and let them know that they're appreciated. So as we all know, this is a little bit easier said than done. We're working here, right? It's actually a lot of work to accomplish this, to reach out at the right time, to make sure that your donors are organized and ready to go, to create e-blasts that say just the right thing, and to send them at just the right time. So Keela's automation tool can actually make this a lot easier. It can save you a ton of time and a ton of manual work. So once an automation workflow is set up, and yes, that takes a little bit of work to set it up, but once it's there, you can kind of just let it be and let it do its thing and trust that your donors are getting what they need to be getting. So it will pull in the right group of people at the right time. It puts them through a curated sequence of actions, which is what we're going to be showing you today, whether it's sending a drip campaign of emails that outline their impact with you or ask them to become recurring donors if they're not already. Or it can complete the more internal, more manual tasks that you and your team are doing every single day, such as adding or removing tags, sending internal reminders, or maybe filling out important fields to keep your contacts updated and organized. So today we'll be walking you through an end of year appeal workflow that I've created to engage with donors who haven't donated in a while. So this workflow was modeled off of many similar workflows that I've seen from other Keela users that have successfully saved some teams just so many hours. This precious time can now be devoted to other pressing tasks, especially at this important time of year, such as connecting with your major gift donors and saying a personal thank you, or getting ready for your end of year events. Speaking of this time of year, Giving Tuesday is right around the corner. It falls on November 28th this year, and we all know that this is a really great time to engage with your donors and ask for their support. So I've designed this sequence that I'm going to show you soon as a follow-up campaign to last between Giving Tuesday through to the end of the year to engage specifically with donors who haven't given to your organization in a while. This metric is going to be measured by their donor score, which is actually a Keela intelligence tool available to give you more insight on your contact's donation history. It looks at their giving history throughout the years and assesses whether they're in your top or bottom percentile of donors. So for this campaign, we'll be focusing on the bottom percentile of your donors to see if we can re-engage them at this time of year. So once I start sharing my screen in just a moment, I'll show you a little bit more about the donor score, but then we'll jump into the automation workflow. Okay, so just give me 1 second. I will share my screen. Perfect. So like I mentioned, I'm going to jump into donor score just really briefly before we touch on the automation workflow. So this is something that is automatically calculated for each and every contact that you have within your Keela account that has at least one transaction on their profile. So I'm going to jump over to contacts here and jump into our first contact here, Dill Pickle. And we can see that they've given at least one donation because all of the contact insights and smart recommendations that look at their giving history are populated here. So the donor score is 2. So it's really low on the scale, which means Dill Pickle is definitely going to be moving through this automation and needs a little bit more love, needs a little bit more attention to re-engage with your content. Okay, so as long as the content has at least one transaction, the donor score, along with the other Keela intelligence tools, will show up on their profile, and you can filter for them and use them in your automations or through your email marketing as well. So Dill Pickle definitely needs a little bit more love. If you click here on the learn more, this is actually going to jump over to our knowledge base, which I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with at this point, but we do have a really great article that outlines donor score, gives a little bit more information on how this is calculated, okay, what it's looking at and what type of data it's pulling in. And then it's also categorizing your donors for you based on their donor score. So categorizing them into champions, promising, so they're showing promise, or they need more love, they have not donated a lot or recently, okay? So you can use this article to kind of gauge how you'd like to communicate with them and when. Back to the automation, okay? Just give me 1 second. Okay, so today we're looking into the end of year follow-up sequence, okay? So we're jumping into the workflow tab here and looking from the top to the bottom. So this might seem a little bit intimidating and overwhelming to look at when we're first looking at a big workflow like this. Sorry, I just need to adjust the screen a little bit. Okay, now we're good. Okay, so now we can scroll through from the top down to the bottom. There are tons of actions to look at here. So it might seem a little bit overwhelming, especially if you've never worked with automation workflows before. But trust me, once you start understanding what the building blocks are, what each point means, you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly, I promise. It's not as intimidating. There's also a lot of patterns and repetition in this workflow. So it may look really big, but really I'm just taking sections and duplicating them, okay? So remember, it always starts from the top with a starting point. And this is the only way that a contact can enter this workflow is if they meet the criteria from the starting point that you've selected. And then it moves downwards. So contacts can't jump around in any other pattern. It just goes from top to bottom, which makes it a little bit easier for you to read and understand and to set up properly. You know that the contacts are only going from top to bottom. So there's the starting point, and then there's multiple checkpoints that ends up splitting them into yes or no pathways. So examples of checkpoints are we're checking to see if the contact has opened the email, not just received an email, but we can also check if they're opened because we do get statistics back just like we do with email marketing, okay? Another example of a checkpoint is we're waiting to see if a contact has made a transaction within this time period, from the time that they received your email to this point, okay? But ultimately, the end goal of your automation sequences, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom where some of the actions are. The end goals are always the action points. So whether it's sending an email is the most obvious one, of course, creating an internal task, right? So we're adding a to-do to one of your team members, or we're updating contact information, such as adding or removing a tag. So it's actually easier to conceptualize your automation workflows backwards, okay? So stick with me for a second. So it's easier to understand what you want to build in an automation if you're thinking about the action points first. Is my goal to set up a drip campaign of emails? Or is it to send them a registration form for an event, which you can link through an email? Or is it to do some internal management of your contacts to alleviate some of the day-to-day tasks from your team? Okay. So now I'm going to walk you through this workflow so that it makes a little bit more sense. And we'll walk through step by step so that you understand what your donors are getting from this workflow. So the starting point that we've selected here, okay, I'm going to click into it. The starting point is that the contact receives one of your emails from your communications tool, okay? And we've selected a specific e-blast, one that's called Giving Tuesday Campaign 2023, okay? So the starting point is that they receive that email. There's also the functionality here to add additional filters. So yes, everybody's receiving this email, but you also want to include or exclude certain groups. And this is where the donor score comes into play. So this group, we also want them to match these filters. We want their donor score to be between 0 and 30, which is the lower third of your donors, the third percentile. I'm also using tags here as filters to exclude certain groups that you don't want to push through drip campaigns, such as staff, board of directors, maybe your volunteers. You guys can organize this as you like. I just wanted to show an example of maybe excluding your board of directors. They don't need to be solicited. Okay, so they receive the email and they match these filters. They're good to go. They're going to be pushed down into the automation workflow. The first thing that we're doing here is we're waiting a good 7 days, giving them plenty of time to receive the email, but also open it, read it, and engage with it. And then we're checking to see if they've opened the email. So this means we're going to wait 7 days, check to see if they've opened it. If they have opened it, it's going to follow this pathway here and come over to this section of the automation. So if they did open that initial email, we're going to wait a couple days, right? We're going to wait 3 days, and then we're going to check to see if that contact has made a transaction, if they've donated because of that email. If they have, what we're going to do is going to follow this path, and we're going to add a tag for end of year 2023 campaign. My idea for this was if you are tagging people who have been successful in this campaign, it will make for easier reporting. You can just segment your list based on this tag and see who was successful in this campaign. And that means that as you keep building these automations, you can make improvements as you go. And then you're sending a thank you email for their generous donation, and then they exit the workflow because they did what you want them to do, which is donate. We're still in the path where they opened the initial email, but they didn't make a transaction. Now we start what we call the drip. So they're going to receive a couple more emails and we're going to check a couple more times if they make transactions. So we're sending them a second email here, a bit more about their impact. Okay. Once that's sent, we're waiting a couple more days and then checking to see if they made a transaction again. If they did, we're tagging them and sending a thank you email. If not, we're going to wait a couple more days and then send a final ask email. This is going to be the final one in the drip. And then again, we're last check here. We're checking to see if they made a transaction. If they did, we tag them and say thank you. If they didn't, a couple actions are available here. You can make up your mind depending on how you want to manage these contacts. But because these are people who have not donated or engaged with your organization in quite some time, maybe you want to tag them as a lapsed donor. You might also consider adding a to-do, which is an internal task reminder to your fellow employees to remove the contact, perhaps if you're cleaning up your contact list, or maybe you can add them to a future campaign. Okay, so there's plenty of options to do if they keep following the no path and they're not engaging with your emails, they're not engaging by donating, then you can tag them accordingly and make decisions what you'd like to do with that contact. Now, back up to the top, they've got the email, we're checking if they've opened it. If after 7 days they have not opened that initial email about Giving Tuesday, Then we're going to send them down a similar drip, but because they didn't engage with your first email, we're going to add one more to the drip just to send a follow-up and try to engage again. So the second email might say something along the lines of what's coming up during the holidays, what to expect, what's our organization up to, more like a newsletter style, just to see if they're opening your emails, just to see if they're engaging at this time of year. And then this is where the repetition starts, right? We're going through the same process. So we're checking for a transaction. If they did donate, we tag them and say thank you. If they didn't donate, we're going to wait a couple days, send more about their impact. Check for a transaction, say thank you. If yes, if no, we'll wait another week and send that final ask. Now, if we remember, we're starting this around Giving Tuesday, so late November. You can adjust these delay times and maybe add a couple more emails depending, but you want it to kind of last throughout the month of December and take them to the end of the year. So that was my goal, was to send this final ask right around Christmas or between Christmas and New Year's to try to get the last couple dollars in at the end of the year. The last final check here, contact makes a transaction. Yes, we we tag and send a thank you. No, we tag them as lapsed donors and then decide what we want to do with that contact, okay? So that's kind of the basics of that drip campaign. So this workflow was designed with 3 or 4 emails in total. Okay, depending on whether they've engaged with that Giving Tuesday email, we did 3 on one side, 4 on the other. You can continue to expand on this and build a bigger drip, but there are some industry best practices when it comes to drip campaigns. Typically, they're anywhere from 4 to 10 emails. With at least 4 to 14 days in between each one. It really depends on the time of year, the level of engagement, and the amount of content that you have to give, right? You don't want to just be throwing fluff out there. You want it to be really impactful. So you get to really design and conceptualize these drip campaigns so they work for you and also leave a lasting impact on your donors with your messaging. Let's also keep in mind something just about functionality here is that when you're designing an email through an automation here, you are building it on the same platform as your email marketing tool under communications that you all are very familiar with. So let's click into a quick email just to show you, because this is going to look quite familiar. You are editing the emails in the same way as you are in the email marketing tool. This gives you access to some of the best tools in Keela, such as linking an active donation form, right? You can link any of your forms through email marketing. You can send your donors a donation summary block. It doesn't populate in this preview, but it is there, I promise. But sending your donation summaries at the end of the year, another great way to thank your donors. Or you can, of course, like link your website, link your social media, and design it the way you'd like. You also have access to all of the Keela supplied templates and the templates that you have been saving over time in your email marketing. Okay, go back to the workflow. So this particular workflow, yes, I understand it's big and it might seem a little bit intimidating to build if you're not used to this, but with a little bit of practice, a little bit of creativity, the world really becomes your oyster when it comes to these workflows. And just think about the time that it would take you and your team to accomplish all this work manually, right? To get the timing right on these emails, to check for donations throughout the campaign and exclude the right groups at the right time. Having the automation tool really makes that simple and it does it for you and it gives you back some of that time, which is lovely. They don't all need to be this elaborate. This is an elaborate plan for, for end of year. They don't all need to be this big. Sometimes you just need a simple 2 or 3 step automation that just makes your day-to-day work a little bit easier. For example, we do have a simple volunteer management to show you. Okay. This workflow is a form follow-up sequence meant to organize your volunteer prospects as past or new volunteers to send them a welcome email and get them started. So the starting point here is that the contact completes a form. I chose a specific form called volunteer registration. Then we're looking at a checkpoint again. So here we're waiting a couple days and checking to see if the volunteer has any other volunteer records on their contact profile already. Okay, so if they do already have past volunteer activity with you, we're going to send them down this path. and tag them as a past volunteer, and then send them a welcome email that looks a little bit different. It's going to say, welcome back. What can you expect this coming year? Okay. Or what has changed from last year, perhaps. The other path here is if they have no volunteer past experience with you guys and they're new, then we can tag them with as a new volunteer, and then their welcome email is going to look a little bit different as well. It's going to say thank you for registering to become a volunteer with our organization. Maybe you're linking a secondary form that's asking for more information, whether you need t-shirt size or which program they're interested in. And then you could also add a to-do to one of your volunteer managers to send this volunteer a t-shirt before they start on January 1st. So that is an option. And then I did leave this active workflow as active. And you can see here by this little two-mans here that there are a couple contacts that are actually currently running through this automation, okay? So when that's happening, you'll be able to follow them through and you'll see the little two men icon here move through the automation as they go. And you can click in here and actually see the active contacts that are going through the automation currently. Okay, there's a few functionality points, like you can pause them from advancing, you can unpause them so they continue moving, you can remove them from the secret once or exclude them permanently. Okay, so if you do find somebody that's not meant to be in there, you can stop them and remove them, okay? You can also see that information through this contacts tab. So your active contacts will come up here and the completed contacts will come up here, and you can actually tag them from here too if you need to, okay? The manually enrolled contacts allows you to manually enroll groups of contacts, whether they're segments or individuals. And what that means is it actually skips the starting point and then pushes them through the rest of the automation. And that's really handy because you might actually come up to the point where you have groups of people that don't necessarily meet the starting point, but you want them to receive these drip campaigns or the extra information that's being sent through this automation. Okay. One last example here, a major donor thank you sequence. This one's really great. So this workflow was designed to check recent donations and categorize them as major gifts in different levels so that you can reach out and say thank you in different ways. The action point here is to reach out to your highest donors and thank them for their generous contribution. So the starting point on this one is that the contact makes a transaction. Okay, that's pretty much it. Maybe through a specific form or through a specific campaign, but really we're looking for any donation that's coming through. And then we can apply some additional filters. I think I just did the same thing as last time and excluded any staff or board of directors. Then the checkpoint is just looking at the amount of that gift. So as a donation comes in, is that donation over $500, between $500 and $800? That would categorize them as a major donor level 1, which we'll tag them as. Level 2 would be between 800 and 1,000. Of course, you can design these as you like. This is just an example. Level 3 maybe deserves a phone call if they're donating over $1,000 in one go. And then last but not least, level 4 would be over $1,500, right? You might want to assign a phone call to somebody, but you might also send them a handwritten letter from your executive director, for example. Okay, you can continue to build this out. You can add more stages here by clicking these little plus symbols, okay? And these give you access to all of the different stages and all of the different actions that are available. Whether you're looking for a checkpoint that will split it up based on meeting criteria in the filters, okay? You have access to the same filters as you do through your contacts page that you work with every single day. You can wait a certain amount of time and then check any of these checkpoints, such as contact makes a transaction, which is what we were looking at in my original sequence there. You can delay the stage, which is just adding like, let's wait 4 days and then the next stage will go. And then finally, the actions, the most important part. You're either sending your contacts an email or you're working internally, you're notifying your users, you're adding to-dos, you're updating contact information like tags or fields. Okay. So these are 3 examples of automation workflows, but there is so much more that you can do with Keela Automation. There are also some really exciting enhancements coming soon from the product team on this tool specifically. So we'll be releasing some workflow templates, which will be great. You can kind of plug and play with those. Better testing functionality and the ability to duplicate sections of the workflows to make the building time even faster. So some of the workflow templates that are actually coming your way very soon are, and some more examples beyond just these, are a donor welcome journey. So saying welcome to your first time donors from new contacts, new donors. Form follow-ups, really similar to the volunteer one that I showed you. A happy birthday sequence, which is just a lovely touch, a really nice touch if you have that going year round. And as your donors' birthdays pass, they get a nice email from you. That would be so nice. Welcoming new subscribers and thanking them and letting them know what type of content they can expect from you. And then last but not least, donation milestones, similar to the major donor thank yous, but we really want you to celebrate and thank your donors as they meet a donation milestone with your organization. So that is our automation tool for today. I'm ready to wrap this up just in case people have questions. And just always remember that we always, always, always love and appreciate your feedback and questions, as it allows us to understand your needs and allows us to constantly improve on this product. So I'll pass it back to Meredith for closing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amanda. We've had a whole bunch of questions come in. I think Stefania has had you covered for pretty much all of them. We just got a question came in that I'm hoping you can speak to, but Sharice is asking, can you automate a thank you letter without sending a donation receipt? We want receipting to be done once a year so that all donations are in one receipt.
Yes. Well, the receipts will go out automatically if they're doing a one-time donation through our Keela forms. But if they are giving a recurring donation, then you can opt for cumulative receipting. But either way, you can grab those new transactions as a starting point or as a checking point in an automation, and send thank yous afterwards. Yes. But it won't stop the receipting, that's for sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then I saw quite a few questions around pricing. If you're interested in pricing, I would recommend that you email support@keela.com. That is how you'll be able to take advantage of the discount that we're offering today. And that is how Amanda and Stefania and our awesome customer care team will be able to help you to get up and running with automation. If there are any final questions, we have a couple minutes if you want to get them in quickly. If not, we will kind of wrap it up today.
It's nice to see some familiar faces or
Yeah.
familiar names anyways that we chat with all the time.
Yeah, so many. I'm sure you get to chat to probably people are seeing you guys for the first time too. It's exciting.
Probably.
Bradley, yes, we will be sending out the recording. Keep an eye on your emails. Before the end of the week, you will receive a link with the recording. Oh my goodness. Okay, I love that last minute flurry of questions. Is it possible to see what receipts were sent on the back end?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All receipts are held under the transaction records, and you can click into them and download them.
Amazing. We've got somebody asking about Keela Pay and any updates on Keela Pay launch for Canada.
I can take this one, Amanda, if you want.
Yeah, of
course. We're really wanting to have this out ASAP, but we're hoping Q1 of next year for Keela Pay in Canada. Again, we're kind of working with our partners through this, so it's kind of a little on hold right now.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, I think we got one more right in there. Are there enhanced analytics through automation?
There are some analytics that come back. So you'll see the activity through your automation, how many people have gone through it, how many unique people, but you also get the statistics back from the email marketing. So any email that's sent through automation, you'll get the statistics back, and it will actually show on the overview page of the automation as well.
Okay, great. Well, then we're going to wrap up the demo today. So thank you all again so much for attending. As a final reminder, by attending today, you are all eligible to receive that 15% off discount on your Keela Automation upgrade, as well as some additional support from our professional services team to help you get set up and hit the ground running with automation, especially as we head into year-end giving season. So if you're interested in taking advantage of that offer, please just email support@keela.com, as we said, and Stefania and Amanda will be there to help you get started. So thank you again. Keep an eye on your inboxes for the recording, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.